What I'm saying is both sides are lying. Both of these claims are a lie.
Wait, no, this is insane. You know, we have evidence that Trump was specifically told by advisors around him that specific claims of election fraud were lies. And then literally the next day or a few days after that, he went on to repeat those very same specific claims of election fraud. You know that, right?
Yeah, and then you have Giuliani during his civil case saying that, yeah, I know I lied, but that's my constitutional right.
What is the average lifespan of a fiat currency?
Are any currency still on the gold standard? I'm pretty sure the U.S. is like
no country is comparable to the U.S. at any point in history.
Yeah, but like also like none of the gold standard countries survived.
Yeah, that's true. Would your opinion be to get rid of income taxes, because that would absolutely cause insane results, like in a negative way? Like,
I don't think that we can't unplug it immediately, but I think that we should work that way.
First of all, the Supreme Court's very favorable to him. Second of all, tariffs have been clearly delegated to the president. Yeah, so that's something you're gonna be able to do pretty
easily. Yeah. So
also, his plan will blow up the deficit by $6 trillion.
We are very close to hitting 1,000 subscribers. So subscribing right now will help out a lot.
Why the tariff thing?
The Supreme Court will give him everything. The Supreme Court will give him everything he wants. They give him basically almost full immunity for crime. So
first of all, the Supreme Court's very favorable to him. Second of all, tariffs have been clearly delegated to the president. Yeah, so that's something you're gonna be able to do pretty
easily. Yeah.
So also, his plan will blow up the deficit by $6 trillion, which this is like an actual estimation. Kamala's was only $3 trillion, but from all the economists that I saw right on this is that Kamala's plan was going to further stimulate the economy because it gives like tax rebates and tax incentives to the middle class, which causes them to spend more, versus he has a very top-down approach, which is just basically giving massive tax breaks for the rich and for big corporations. But unfortunately, trickle-down economics. Well, yeah. What do you think?
That, but like tariffs are also regressive taxes. They tax poor people more than rich people. So
yeah, of course. Someone who's making millions of dollars doesn't care about paying 20% more. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, see, it agrees with economists.
What the tax? Hold on. Sorry, I'm on Temu. I won 4 free prizes, guys. Where were we? The tax rates, the tax cuts. Trump's were across the board. We can't predict what he's actually going to implement, but what he says he's going to implement is doubling the standard child care deduction and the earned income credit. Kamala.
Okay, so if we just look at his first term, 90% of the tax cut that he did went to the top 1%.
Because they pay 90% of the revenue.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Under Trump, there was the largest redistribution of wealth from middle class to like the top 1%.
Listen,
he cut them as a percentage.
Expanding the earned income tax credit and child tax credits. She's actually in favor of extending the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act for people making under $400,000 a year too.
There's no fucking way Trump will ever agree to a child tax care credit. I severely doubt it. JD Vance says he's in favor of it, but then he dodged the vote. I don't think there's going to be anything like child tax care credit.
Well, both candidates were saying they were going to increase it. Trump said he was going to double it. Kamala said she was going to raise it by like 60% or something. Well, he put a dollar figure with it.
But the difference is that like
for that tax
Democrats will actually do it.
The thing is that they're using that as a ploy for the abortion ticket, right? Because they kind of have to back that because they're like, okay, you can't have abortions, but we gotta let you have like this, right? So it's like it's not all bad in their eyes, right? Like they're trying to help the family foundation.
Right. But when you say the biggest tax cuts were for the rich, correct, as a dollar figure. Because the rich pay the most dollars in. As a percentage, they're fairly even.
Yeah.
So like
even.
Well, to be clear, the reason the percentages were even was because that includes the expanded child tax credit that Trump did. Without the expanded child tax credit Trump did during his first term, the percentage of income was slanted towards the rich in terms of the tax cut.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you agree that we have a massive wealth gap issue in America?
Yeah, we do.
It's a deficit issue.
Yeah, it's gotten worse and worse, right? So like So like under Trump's first tax cut, we saw like one of the largest redistributions from middle class to like ultra rich. We also saw, well, this is a different thing. We saw some outsourcing, but if you look at his
hold on, the redistribution of wealth under Trump, you're talking specifically via tax, or are you talking via lockdowns? Because those really
they both contributed. Trump did preside over the lockdowns, but you can't fully blame that on him. But a big part of that was the tax cut. But also the second side of it is that they've looked at, I think, this was looked at his new tax proposal, and it was found that it was going to definitely save a lot of money for people who are in the top 5%. But for middle class people, it was going to slightly, like 2%, increase taxes on them.
So I don't know how they got there, but I would expect it to not help the people who don't pay taxes. The lower class doesn't pay.
No, lower class is never going to pay taxes under any plan, right? We're talking about middle class and upper middle clas.
And how would it do that if both sides are reducing taxes, which they both?
Because because it depends on how you do. Like if you get rid of certain deduction stuff. Like for example, my taxes went up under Trump simply because I have a lot of medical expenses and I couldn't deduct those as much as I could before that. So now the way he split it is that there's two categories when you do your deductions, and I could not deduct from my second category from medical expenses, so thus my overall tax rate went up. Right? I'm kind of a little bit of a misnomer or extreme case because most people don't have high medical expenses like I do. But that's an example of a way is by changing the deductions and changing the structure of how deductions work that you can actually increase the tax on middle class effectively.
Right. I'm wondering how whatever assessment this was, how did they come to that conclusion? Because they should not use you as the model. They should use a standard model.
I can link you the article if you want. You can deep dive more into it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd appreciate it. But if it's not handy, don't worry about it. Like, I
can find it in like 2. I can find it in like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
Okay.
Alex is pretty good
chat
with
or
like his when he like calls something out, he has it on hand. But
Do you want me to find it, or you got?
No, you can find it for him. Sources be sourcing.
yeah, sources. We need the sources.
Okay,
I hate being the site.
While you're doing that, how do you feel about the reduction of the corporate tax tip from 21% to 15%?
I think it's not a good idea.
I feel great about it. I think that as much as we act like corporations aren't us, if anybody's got a 401k or an IRA, asset ownership when it comes to mega corporations is so split up that it's not just a fat cat smoking a cigar in a room laughing to himself that's getting money. Also, that's straight pass through, right? Shareholders are not going to go, well, damn, there's a tax increase this year, we'll take less profit. All that filters through to the bottom line, and or it reduces employment.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you feel about this?
It's usually split 3 ways. It's split between shareholders, higher prices that consumers pay, and lower hours worked and higher unemployment for the workers at a company. But it's not like the shareholders have no incidence of that tax. You know,
okay. Fair enough. Okay, that's fair. It's fair. It's fair to assume that they take some, but that they will absorb the least of it. And if we have more people on unemployment, that's a self-defeating move right there to an extent.
Okay, I think I found it. But wait, real quick, how do you feel about the fact that billionaires pay an effective tax rate of 8%, which is obviously lower than what middle class and upper middle class people pay as a effective tax rate? Like, isn't that crazy?
Not really, because 8% of $1 billion is still way more than 50% of nothing.
But
we're not talking about poor people. They don't pay taxes.
No.
We're talking about middle class and upper middle class.
Yeah, we're talking about proportionally. If I'm paying like fucking 25,
oh yes,
30%,
because here's the
like
thing:
a billionaire only paid 8%.
I posted the link.
Okay, I'll check that out. Thank you. Because I don't think that anybody has the right to steal, and taxes is theft.
So then, is your
being-
proposal
Well,
to
wait, hold on.
completely
I don't-
eliminate
you think
all
the deficit
taxes?
is an issue?
Yeah.
That wasn't
am I
my
being-
proposal. That was my
am I
The
proposal.
being
logical
stolen?
conclusion of that is that you remove all taxes. Like, what's the
I think
difference between stealing 21% or stealing 18%?
I think income tax is theft. I actually think that if you combine income tax with the war on drugs, you don't get first say in what you do with your body or the fruits of your labor. You get to do.
I think everyone agrees that war on drugs is like stupid. Liberals and I think a lot of
Yeah.
conservatives.
Well,
But
conservatives and then
yeah.
liberals.
But so then,
yeah.
would your
It's moving
opinion
at
be
this
to
point.
get rid of income taxes, because that would absolutely cause insane results, like in a negative way? Like,
I
you
don't
can't.
think that we can't unplug it immediately, but I think that we should work that way.
Like have
We
like
would
a
need
wean
to
off method?
completely-
Something, I assume.
Dude, we would need to completely axe our military, or like 90% of it. We would need to axe like literally Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. I mean, like all these
Yeah,
programs that people
we
don't want.
would have to reduce our deficit so much that I don't think the country would be able to handle that.
No, the dollar is temporary anyways. That's something people need to understand. The dollar is structurally temporary because the first dollar was lent into existence at interest.
No, the dollar is not going anywhere anytime in the near or mid future. Like most countries rely on the dollar. We have our own currency, our own sovereign currency. Like
What I just said though about how it's lent into existence at interest.
No, listen, that's literally any currency, right? So that's like a completely useless point. We can put in any.
How long does
currency and
what is
say
the
it's
average
temporary.
lifespan of a fiat currency?
But are
Um,
any
I think
currency still on the gold standard? I'm pretty sure the U.S. is like
no
probably
country is comparable to the U.S. at any point in history.
Yeah,
Well,
but like also like none of the gold standard countries survived. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
Well, they just come off the gold standard.
well, exactly.
did.
But
Exactly,
all that
but
happened pretty
they did.
recently, like in the 1920s,
So
1930s.
our economy is floated not by our productivity. It's floated by the fact that we are the central reserve currency. We can print ourselves more money and then force people abroad to buy it. We export our inflation to a large degree.
Yeah, but
We're
we
not
don't.
forcing
We don't
anyone
want
to buy it.
inflation to
They
reach
buy it.
a
They
level
want
above
to buy it.
5%.
Who do you
right?
think
Like,
are the biggest? Who do you think are the biggest owners of the inflation of U.S. bonds, in your opinion? It's not. It's not. It's
I
not
don't know
other
the
countries.
distribution of bond owners.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know the
it's mostly like American corporations.
Yeah, it's American corporations and the Federal Reserve. Like,
Yeah, the Fed. But what's that? What's the significance there?
I'm just saying that we don't like that. There's a misconception that like, oh, China or one of these countries controls most of our debt. It's not true.
No, that's
not
not
true.
true.
I thought it was the case too, and then I looked it up and I was like, okay, this is way off.
It's just how much we
Yeah.
spend
And then
per
I-
year, and then
you
change
know,
that up. Yeah, that's what our deficit is. But that's why it's just like to reduce that deficit to a crazy degree. Like if we remove income tax or we start moving things, it will put us in a hole where structurally America is like the backbone for most economies. So if we collapse, the whole world starts to collapse slowly.
Not slowly. I think the whole world collapses pretty fast.
Immediately.
Maybe Russia will be okay, but
Depending
it's-
on
So what you're saying is
depending on
that
the
without-
connection of it, because like if you have
No.
like connections with like Saudi Arabia or something like that, then you're backed in a different way. But again, we're just so tied into everything that it's like trying to pull like wires randomly from like a location. You're just gonna fuck everything up.
Yeah, the idea is
all
that
you-
you have a good economic policy. So the U.S. economy right now is doing quite well. Like we have the largest GDP growth in 2024.
Yeah,
Inflation is down to 2.1%. I mean, like the U.S. economy is doing good, but I think the issue is that people vote on vibes. And like it just people don't understand cumulative inflation. So like, oh shit feels like it's 25% more expensive. They don't understand the fact that that's cumulative inflation, that every country had massive inflation after the pandemic, and America did better than every other first world country.
yeah,
we
we're
bounced
also the
back
only
way
country with
quicker
full job
and way more
recovery, like-
efficiently than everyone
One at a
else.
time, one at a time.
Yeah, but people like the average person who's deciding these elections is some like dipshit, like I don't know, maybe high school dropout or definitely college dropout who like is not really involved in anything. Like he doesn't really follow the news. He just goes off vibes and he's like, "Yeah, Donald Trump is funny." Like it's not like
I think the Harris campaign really suffered from that this time, where like everyone was on the like pro-Palestine side on the left, so they were actively against her, and now they got like the result that they didn't want because now Trump's in power. So I think you're correct. Like when we start going off vibes or like stupid fucking points where it's just like you have to think way deeper than just one point in your fucking pocket. It's got to be like you have to look at it as a whole. Then we can get to a good place.
Here's what I think. What I think for Democrats, I've been like thinking about this for the last few hours. I think I'll probably I'll probably have more ideas obviously as this unfolds. But I think a big one is that Republicans have been able to somehow steal the idea that they're anti-war. Like Republicans have, even though like factually they're not, but they're perceived as anti-war because under Trump there was technically no new wars, and under Biden, even though we didn't start them, there's two big wars going on. And I think if Biden or just the Democrats, if they put an end to both of those wars, which they easily could have, Russia, Ukraine, and war with Lebanon and Gaza, if they apply pressure, that would have looked a lot better for Democrats. They needed to.
I think that's also a misconception because like the Ukraine war, that like the only thing we're doing is sending them like stuff that we would already be breaking down anyway, and it would cost us more to break it down than just to give it.
But the average person doesn't know that. They just know there's a war going on.
They just know that the war.
You guys agree?
Yeah, and so like if Biden could have put an end to this war, years ago, right? I mean, there was the deal in Turkey like 3 months after the war began, but yeah, that would have been like a W. That would have looked good. Putting an end to the hostilities in the Middle East, that would have been a good look. But unfortunately, Democrats like Biden have become like just the party of neoliberalism, where they are just like much more pro-war. Like it just flipped because in 2004, under Bush, like Republicans were clearly the pro-war party. Like there was no denying that. And now it's become like murky. And if not, some people, like I've heard a lot of people who are like don't really follow politics, but when I ask them why they're voting for Trump, it's like, oh, I don't like war. Democrats have become the party of pro-war. And then when I logically explain to them like all the military action Trump did, they're like, I don't know, man. Just feels like things were more peaceful back then. So I think that's one thing that really hurt the Democrats.
Yeah, I think it's going to be bad timing as well because like with like the Ukraine war, like specifically, that's a unique situation because we have like a pact with them. I think we signed it in like '94 or something. Where we would defend them from Russia if Russia ever encroached on them.
It was. I don't believe. Was it actually a written pact or was it a verbal pact?
It was an actual written pact
called the Budapest Memorandum. Yeah. I don't know if it's technically described as a treaty, but it was a commitment we made.
Yeah, America has a commitment with Russia not to expand past Germany. There's
not true at all. That was a verbal promise made between the Secretary of State, and also even Gorbachev himself said that it was only referring to NATO troops in East Germany, and also the Soviet Union isn't even around anymore, so who gives a fuck?
Yeah, but you can see it from I'm not pro-Russia or anything, but you can see it from Putin's perspective how he sees it as like.
I can't see it from Putin's perspective. Well, no, I can see it from Putin's perspective if he wants to lay his ball sack on Ukraine, and then he feels like if Ukraine joins NATO, then he can't do that. So I guess that's the perspective there.
Yeah, I think you can have a really good debate about whether we should put an end to this war or we should keep funding Ukraine. But politically, I think you have to agree that the fact that the Ukraine war is still ongoing is bad for Democrats.
It looks bad. It looks bad. I will agree with that.
Probably, but I don't know. Like, I could see there being a reality where the war ends unfavorably to Ukraine, and somehow Republicans use that against them too.
Yeah,
no, it's already unfavorable to Ukraine.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, at this point, like, there's no longer like a justification for any war. Right? Yeah, because like if we go back to like 9/11, like Afghanistan, if we go back to Iraq, like we had like some kind of like actual justification to do what we did in those areas, and it was mostly just based on feels. Like after 9/11, like all of Americans went in based on feels, and we just took the bullshit explanation of WMDs.
Oh, we do have an explanation for Ukraine. It's just not a particularly good one. Well,
yes, but there's not a justice that the American people want for those areas anymore. So,
well, I think they want for Ukraine to get their territory back. It's just not realistic. It's not going to happen. But I think
the thing,
the
Ukrainian, I think the reason U.S. is really backing that in reality, like yes, we made a treaty, but in reality, if you let Russia encroach into those ports, they control the Black Sea, and if you control the Black Sea, you control the Baltic states. You pretty much take over all of the Baltic states just like that.
Yep.
I don't know if this is maybe I just don't know my geography, but isn't Black Sea Crimea, right? Am I correct?
It's connected to Ukraine, Crimea, and all the Baltic states, so like Turkey,
but
stuff like that.
Russia already controlled Crimea. They were never going to be pushed out of Crimea.
Yeah, for sure.
True,
but they
want to.
Yeah, they need to be able to encroach.
Yeah, they want to bridge a gap with Eastern Europe. So controlling those coasts would be like Croatia, Serbia, Bosnia doesn't really matter at that point. Turkey, yeah. So those are like the extensions that Russia wants to get to. They don't need the land because I'm not entirely sure about Turkey, but like Serbia, Croatia are going to be on the Russian side. And
are they?
Yes.
They're not EU members?
No.
They're not.
Actually, Croatia's not. Croatia might be part of NATO. Serbia, I know for a fact, isn't.
If they're part of NATO, then they're definitely not pro-Russia. But I mean, like, NATO is a pretty definitive military alliance.
I can look up Croatia real quick, but I know for a fact that Serbia is.
I'll take your word for it. But anyway, I think just to bring it back to the election, is that I don't think foreign policy was actually that huge of a reason. I think it came down to what? Democracy, inflation, border. And so that's really where I think like foreign policy, I think I saw an exit poll where it was like 6% or 7%, like for people was like the main issue. But I think Americans are pretty self-centered. Like they care about.
I would say that the Democratic voter was probably more influenced by foreign policy this time, especially with like the pro-Palestine movement. There was some,
but then that was the mistake that Kamala also made. Like Trump was always going to be the more pro-Israel candidate. I mean, you can't go to the right of him on this. He was always going to let Israel. He was the guy that let Israel annex the Golan Heights. He was the guy that moved the embassy. He was the guy that assassinated the Iranian general. You're not going to go more to the right of him on Israel. But so there was a chance, I think, to get back those Muslim voters, and like without coming off as like too extremist, can be like, hey, listen, one thing that I disagree with Biden on is just how long it's taking us to get to a ceasefire in this war. While I do believe Israel has a right to defend itself, there's been way too many people dead, and now I'm going to do my absolute best to bring a ceasefire to this. And if necessary, I will use economic pressure, like something like that. Could have swayed some of those Muslim voters.
I think the Jewish
Kamala absolutely fucked that.
She went really war heavy for that one, and I was just like, okay, this is probably not the move. But then I don't understand how the Democrats will actually play this, because it's like now like Gaza might actually get glassed because of Trump. Like you effectively caused the thing that you're trying to avoid, right?
Yeah, I understand that. But then the counter argument, though, that I've heard from like Arabs, right, is that like, yeah, we understand logically that Kamala or Biden is better for our countries or for Arabs than Trump is. But we feel that the Biden administration has done so much harm through basically allowing all these weapons and giving domestic support to like Israel, that we feel like we just can't vote for either. So it's not like these people are voting for Trump; they're just staying home because they feel like it.
Yeah, but
and the Arab vote dropped dramatically.
That's what I think actually like affected this election, where it was just like people didn't go out to vote; they were just like, "Fuck these."
Yeah, and like Michigan for sure. Yeah. But so that's why I think like that would have been the rhetoric need to be a little bit different from Kamala. Like again, she was never going to go to the right of Trump, and there's no point even trying. Like the people who are hardcore Zionists, for whom Israel is like the number one issue, like they were always going to vote for Trump, regardless of what rhetoric she used. So she should have just focused on getting the moderate Jewish, like the liberal Jews, for who are like, yeah, you know, we want to have a homeland, but we also don't like all these wars, and getting the Arabs and the young vote.
I could be wrong, but I feel like that'd be like more divisive on the left, where that's going to cause more internal fighting on the left, where I feel like maybe the right wouldn't care quite as much either way.
There's definitely like double standards that like things that don't apply to Trump that apply to everyone else, and things that don't apply to the right. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there's a weird situation within the right where you're simultaneously like blaming the Jews for everything, but also at the same time like supporting Israel.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's just
some of the biggest anti-Semites are like super pro-Israel. Yeah.
Yeah, which is it becomes like a anti-conspiracy Jew thing versus like pro-Israel, pro-Zionist kind of thing, which is
it's because they don't want the Jews in their country, right? They want all the Jews to be in.
Ours having
that was how Israel and Zionism started. Actually, it was some dude in England who just wanted to get rid of the Jews.
Ours having that buffer area in the Middle East where the Arabs can attack.
But another mistake that, because it's not just foreign policy, even though that would be like an easy thing to point to. Another mistake was that Kamala should have focused more on going on podcasts rather than like mainstream media. Like Trump.
So unlikable, though.
Well, she's much more likable than Trump, according to polls.
Doesn't she have a media team, though? Like, I mean, don't they hire people to make them likable?
That laugh is unbearable.
She barely did any press in general, especially in comparison to someone like Trump.
Well, she won the debate. I mean, she's definitely not the most charismatic person. She lacks charisma, that's for sure.
Yeah, but
she's not Obama.
Debate, but she's not an entertainer in like any sense, and Trump absolutely is. That's where he shines.
Right.
That's where he gets
his
entire MAGA following.
I think she can learn to chill. Like I think her going on Joe Rogan would have been good.
But don't you think that I think that the people who dislike Trump are going to be galvanized by hearing more Trump, and I don't think that Kamala is going to win anyone over with her charisma, like you said.
I mean, maybe Joe Rogan is not like the main podcast, but I think one thing Trump did right is he did focus on podcasts a lot more over traditional media.
Yeah, the Lex Friedman podcast really like launched him into like certain spaces, which I was
like Lex Friedman would have been a really good one for Kamala.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Kamala would not have taken advantage of it in the way that Trump has. Even if she went on Rogan, she would not have gotten the like positive results that Trump did from Rogan.
Well, she could have. She's capable of it.
You think her team would be responsible for setting up these events?
I don't think she. Even if like all equal things, Trump is just a better entertainer, and
he is a much better entertainer, and he's much funnier. But
he's been in the camera longer.
It's entertainment.
But to be fair, yes, he's better entertainer. He's funnier, but he also goes on more crazy tangents, and he sometimes comes off much more unhinged. And I think also he obviously lies a lot. And I think that if there was someone that can point out the lies, like, hey, Trump said this, the facts are this, blah, 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 that could have been the counterbalance that Kamala could have provided to at least some of these podcasts.
That might have been an opportunity, but
I think Alex has a point here because if we look at like the debate between those two, the fact checking, the constant sass, that won her a lot lot for a lot of people.
Fact checking is Trump's kryptonite. Like this is where because he just lies and lies.
We're well conditioned to expect lies from our elected officials.
But there's a degree and level of lies.
Yeah, it's different.
Nothing Kamala does is comparable to Trump to this day lying about the 2020 election.
definitely agree, but when
I mean, dude, he lies about scary things like that. He also lies about like silly things. Like he's still saying that the fucking immigrants in Ohio are eating fucking dogs, and even though it's been like disproven 20 million times to Sunday. I mean, he just
proven negative, but still, yeah. I mean, obviously he's not hanging out with people eating their dogs. So.
Well, I mean, like but like this is pretty definitive. They looked at like all the people. Like there was several incidents. So there was a photo of that guy carrying a geese, and people were saying, "Look at that!" But that guy was an American citizen, number one, and number two, he was cleaning roadkill. He worked for the city, so that's like we can easily like dismiss that case. They looked at all the incidents of like police calls where someone ate a cat or whatever, ate a pet, and there was only one, and it was a chick who was not an immigrant. She was just like crazy. So yeah, I mean, we can.
It's an unverifiable claim that he would have no way of knowing, right? Obviously, it's a lie, but also saying that you proved a negative is just that's also
okay. But like, if we go off,
why do you not have an issue?
Negative.
Like, why do you not have an issue with him like sitting on a verifiable claim?
If I say it's not raining, wait, hang on. If I say it's not raining outside and then I go outside and the weather's sunny, have I not just proved that negative?
Okay, fair enough. Well, that's a positive claim, though.
No, I'm saying that it's not raining. That's my claim. There's no rain.
It's a positive claim expressed in the negative. Yeah. But either way, you can't. This is not the case. You can't prove that there's not immigrants eating dogs because we're not with all the immigrants all the time.
You can prove that there's no evidence for it.
What I'm saying is both sides are lying. Both of these claims are lying.
Wait, no, this is insane. You know, we have evidence that Trump was specifically told by advisors around him that specific claims of election fraud were lies. And then literally the next day or a few days after that, he went on to repeat those very same specific claims of election fraud. You know that, right?
Yeah, and then you have Giuliani during his civil case saying that, yeah, I know I lied, but that's my constitutional right.
Is that Garfield with the Trump derangement syndrome?
Wait, do you want me to list off the examples? I can tell you.
That was you. Listen, guy, I don't like Trump. So calm your little tits down. He proposed death penalty for drug dealers like 3 times. That would have me dead. I'm not a fan of him. So hush.
Hey.
Yeah, but you're white, so he might let you slide, you know. I think he's cool.
Yeah, no, he typically makes that talking point with like when he's talking about immigration. So I think he'd be fine.
Well, he does. To be fair, he does say that about drug dealers too, like separately.
Well, I think
he wants to kill a lot of people.
Is that we both agree both sides lie, but Trump lies way more. So we should probably
the whole thing is a lie. You know that's my belief. I believe the whole thing is a show. It's a presentation. He's an entertainer. That's why you have the Democratic Party presenting the 2 most unappealing candidates in a row. One of them was halfway dead. Yeah, Kamala's the least charismatic person I've ever seen. Biden was damn near senile and dead when he ran.
Not damn near, actually senile.
You do have a point. Like I wish there was an open primary. I think someone like Gretchen Whitmer or even what's his name? Tim. What the fuck is the VP's
Tim Walz?
Tim Walz, like as the primary candidate. Both of those could have easily won.
Pete could have done a pretty good job. We have a lot of people in the Democratic Party that could have done a pretty good job, but the reason is there was a backing already, so like you already had financial backing, and the only person that would access that would be the vice president.
Yeah, I've heard this argument, but there's a workaround. It's you can put that money in a super PAC, and that super PAC
could technically, but the super PAC would have a limitation on how much you could put into it from that.
No, as far as I understand, the only limitation is that the super PAC could not coordinate with the main campaign.
Yeah.
But they do it anyway all the time.
Yeah.
Think about it. Kamala raised a lot more money.
Yeah.
Kamala raised a lot more money. She lost the election, so it's not just money.
Yeah, for sure. No, but what I was saying is that was the safety net at the very beginning, and then she raised a shit ton of funding while she was going through those 3 months, right?
Yeah, it came down to being more of a vibe thing than I thought. Like I knew vibes would play a huge role, but it was just like the larger percentage of people. And then like when I look at Trump supporters I know in real life, like for example, one of them is my Colombian barber who's an immigrant to this country. And he was telling me like, yeah, man, I'm voting for Trump. And I was like, why, bro? He's like, I don't know. I like it more. I'm like, okay. And then legalizing marijuana was on the ballot in Florida. And I was like, so do you at least vote for legalized marijuana? He's like, no. I'm like, why? You smoke weed? He's like, yeah, but, I'm in favor of the drug dealers. So it's like stupid logic like that. Like that's it's like a Trump supporter right there.
It feels like a lot of Trump supporters are like very single issue supporters. Like I'm surrounded by Trump supporters. Like it's like one, maybe two only like liberals like in this entire group, and it's always I know Trump is a horrible person. I don't care about that. I need him to take care of immigration. Or
that's interesting. My perspective is that the overwhelming majority of Trump voters are powered by misinformation. They believe certain things to be true that are not.
Yep.
That's what I see online, but like on the ground, I see just a lot of there's a lot of misinformation there, and like a lot of things that we talk about, but it always comes down to a lot of my friends have like small businesses, so they're in the like upper middle class, and they're coming off of Trump policies. They're seeing Biden policies that are not exactly working the way that or not helping the way that Trump policies did, just because those plans are expiring, and they're going for Trump like as a result, because like I do think Trump is a piece of shit human being. I recognize
but then they're misinformed. Kamala wants to give a $50,000 tax credit to small businesses and entrepreneurs, like
new small businesses, which I don't think would actually apply to them. And at the very least, from the conversations I've had with them, they don't believe that it's going to work out for them well.
Especially
they believe that it's something.
The thing is, the Democratic Party has a horrible track record with promising things that they just cannot deliver, like the student loan debts,
the Republicans,
right? Though. Yeah, for sure. I like that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, there's gonna be those unique situations where it's gonna sway these like those like pundits or like party members one way or another. Like I don't think the MAGA is uniquely different with like having a one issue thing. Like I think this election very much came down to one issue. Like we can have like abortion as one of the main issues, right? Because that's what a lot of people voted for. We can look at like we were saying earlier, foreign policy. That's going to be an issue that is a sticking point for a lot of people. So I don't think that's uniquely different about MAGA. I think that's just generally how a lot of people approach politics nowadays. I think that's kind of the issue we're dealing with.
I still think it largely comes down to misinformation and a lack of critical thinking or lack of education. Like there's a reason for why. This is going to sound like pretty elitist of me, but there's a reason for why Trump is the most popular amongst high school dropouts, and for even men who graduate from college, like they prefer a Democrat. Not to say that like college people are necessarily smarter, but I do think they develop better critical thinking skills. And just like I've talked to so many Trump supporters, and like all the things that they say to support Trump for are things that actually would apply to Democrats more. And they just, or it's like something silly that just I won't care about, like fucking trannies getting their dicks cut off in prison. Like that seems to be a big issue. Like trans shit seems to be a big issue for a lot of MAGA people, and something that like
insane.
I just don't give a fuck about.
It's a fraction of the population, and somehow everybody thinks this is gonna like affect them, which is like absolutely fucking.
For some people, that's like a huge issue. There's also this idea, at least in my community, the manosphere, which I don't understand this. Well, actually, I can understand this, but it doesn't make sense to me. Is that like Trump is pro masculinity, and Kamala is like anti-man. But like they don't understand that these politicians, they don't care about gender wars on the internet. Like this is irrelevant like to them at all. Like there's no candidate that's pro men or pro women. Like this is just none of that exists. But yeah,
because it's a minefield that they can't hit.
I think I agree with you. In my perception, I think kind of the Democrats have done a bad job at like kind of attracting men. I can see why a lot of men have kind of been drifting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do think that's something that has to be addressed in the next 4 years if we want to have more success.
Yeah, the question is how to do it, but yeah, I agree that like, you want to draw men in more.
You want to ask ThePrawncessto, how are you coping with the loss? Are you moving to Europe? Or are you?
Yeah, leaving the USA. No, I mean, I said this joke like 5 times, but as a straight white cis male, I think I'm gonna be fine.
When are you debating Andrew Nonfon?
You will be fine. There's absolutely.
When am I debating Andrew?
You're fully good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I would debate him on at this point. Honestly, I've never been a political streamer after an election. I don't really know what to do at this point. Like,
I wish I were there last night.
Ooh, Andrew from the Crucible?
I'll just say that. Yeah. I debated him last night with some other people.
Oh, there's so much to debate him on. He doesn't think that January 6th was an insurrection.
Alex has done lots of debates with them.
Yeah, I've done a lot. Yeah, and now he refuses to debate me. But yeah,
you guys used to always be on together.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I have a whole video explaining the backstory for that. But yeah, it's up to him. I said that I'm down to have a professional relationship, debate him, go on his channel, whatever. He don't want to do it. So,
Flo, what the fuck is happening inside chat?
I just stumbled across a couple days ago Alex's video with C.S. Joseph. And I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but I'm super fucking excited for it because C.S. Joseph was my original lol cow. I put behind or in the back chat a couple old videos I made from back in the day.
C.S. Joseph. Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, that was like a month ago or so. Why, you don't like that guy too much?
He's such a fucking goofball. How did it end? I mean, how did you feel? Did you feel like he was assessing anything accurately, or did you feel like he was shucking jiving?
Okay, I didn't want to be mean to him, right? Because he seemed like a nice guy,
like a motherfucker.
But I feel like it was the typical, like, not that I've done this a lot, but going to like a fortune teller and they get some general things right, but then like 30% of the stuff is wrong. Like I didn't feel like there was anything like I didn't think that there was anything besides like just plain like witchcraft guessing.
Claims, right? Like you're like, somebody who likes it when people like you, right? Like, well, then,
it's like, they get some things right, but they get them right for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I don't really care about validation. That's what I think. One of the things he was wrong about. I don't care like if people like me or not. I mean, I prefer if I have to choose, but it's not like important to me. I only care whether my friends and family and my girlfriend like me.
A lot of suggestive. He's very suggestive, right? Maybe he wasn't with you, but typically he seems to kind of lead the witnesses. Like
it is a bit concerning. Like essentially practicing psychiatry without like being formally trained in it. Not that like I'm the biggest believer in like formal training and everything, but it seems like he's kind of like he's not like doing that to the point where like it's illegal, but it seems like he's like kind of in that direction. I don't know enough about him, honestly. This was someone recommended I have him on, and I just followed through on that. I don't know enough about him. Maybe. But real quick, going back to the election. So there was like this going back to what I was talking about, which is like people just thinking that they're voting for something, but actually attributing to their own candidate. Myron Gaines, my favorite homie, made a post, and he was talking about the 2 reasons for why he voted for Trump. The first one was immigration, and he said that Trump's going to do more for immigration, but like not realizing that Trump killed the border bill like entirely, which was written by a very conservative senator James Langford.
Yeah, it was a bipartisan bill that.
Yeah, but they're always
been the best border bill. We would no, it was going to be one of the best border bills that would have ever passed through any.
I know
it was endorsed by the Border Patrol Union.
Yeah, because nobody knows exactly what the fuck is part of the bill. They just get away.
What do you mean? You can read the bill?
You can read the bill. Nobody will read the bill, and everybody is going to just claim that there is, small.
Okay, fine. You don't even have to. You don't have to read the bill.
No, you can not even read the bill. It's they're tacking on this thing for Ukraine or this thing or that thing.
But that's why they hang on.
Yeah,
that was initially, but then they separated and they just tried to pass the border bill as is without the Ukraine and the Israel stuff.
Exactly, and nobody fucking recognizes that. And people that sit there and talk about how it got shut down because they wanted to give more funding to Ukraine, not recognizing the fact that there was a separate bill that provided funding to Ukraine after the fact, provided more funding than the bill initially even had in it, and it's just fucking insane to me.
The reason, though, I've heard most Trump fanboys talking against the bill is just misinformation. This was going to allow 5,000 illegal immigrants in, not realizing that that's not at all what it does. Or this was a very liberal bill, not realizing it was written by James Langford. So it's just misinformation points, and that. Yeah, and then the second one is even you can make an argument for, aside from the border bill, why Trump could be better on the border, depending on what policies you want, blah blah. But the second thing you could not make an argument for, which is that Myron is very pro-Palestine. He said that that Trump would be better for Palestinians in putting an end to the carnage in the Middle East and reeling in Netanyahu when the reality is that Trump has in his first term and then second term will just let Netanyahu and Israel do whatever the fuck they want.
Trump is one of the ones that incited the fucking.
He legitimately said he would blast the shit out of it.
He literally set the fucking fire that started a lot of that shit there just by moving that embassy. Which and the fact that that's completely ignored by the right is insane to me.
Yeah, but just not even that. Just if you look at Trump's rhetoric, his criticism of the Biden administration is that they've held Netanyahu back too much. They haven't let him do everything he wants. And Trump's just let him do whatever he wants. And then obviously he annexed the Golan Heights. I think there's pretty good reporting that he would annex the West Bank, which would cause a whole bunch of issues. The whole idea of the Abraham Accords was just to cut Palestinians out of the peace process. Yeah, so it's just the idea that I'm pro-Palestine, that's why I'm supporting Trump. Just makes you an idiot.
Yeah, I gotta head out. I just saw you guys talking about terrorists and figured I'd talk for a bit, but I gotta head out.
Later, Nonfon.
Thank you for hopping on.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks. Sure, anytime.
But yeah,
I agree. I don't think Trump's gonna do anything radically different with Israel. I don't know why people think that.
No.
He's definitely going to do something dramatically different. He's definitely going to
He's going to push for it a lot harder.
Yeah.
He's going to allow Israel probably to annex the West Bank. He's not going to give a shit if there's occupation that happens in Gaza. He's going to be all in favor of Israel just going to full out war with Iran. I don't
support it as well. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. I mean, last time, I don't know if you guys heard the story. This did not get nearly enough attention or news as I think it should have. But this was actually Trump from his own mouth. He was doing a podcast, I forget with who, and he was talking about why he killed the Iranian general. And this is what he said. He said that, initially Israel, Netanyahu hit me up and said that we should do this joint operation. So it was their idea. And then last minute, they backed out of it saying, the political consequences are too much, but they encouraged me to do the operation myself. So I was like, okay, whatever. So you got literally tricked into doing Israel's dirty work. And that just blows my mind.
Yeah. Typically Trump has always been one of those things that it's just when it comes to foreign policy, he's just going to be very bad at anything that he's doing. That's why that's kind of one of the worrying things for me with another 4 years of him. where diplomatic relations are really important, especially if you start putting on 20% tariffs on everything. It's just going to pretty much ruin any like connections we have.
Yeah. Also, I don't know how serious this is, but pulling out of NATO would be a massive mistake. I mean, he's threatened that multiple times.
For sure.
This could be like the worst decision, foreign policy decision that America could ever make. Is pulling out of NATO would be just a disaster.
You're pretty much giving Russia the go ahead to do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, that would be. I'm not a big like oh fuck, we gotta watch out for Russia type of thing. But if we pull out of NATO, yeah, we gotta watch out for Russia.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Georgia does. The country Georgia. The rest of that would get annexed too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone forgets about Georgia.
True.
That's true.
I know I did.
Do you mind if I ask who you voted for, or who you were kind of leaning toward?
Sorry, who? Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I voted for Kamala.
Same. We had a pretty diverse cast here today.
It was a no-brainer for me. The only policy that I think Trump is better on than Kamala is policy towards Russia and Ukraine, except for the fucking pulling out NATO thing. But that's like a small thing. Like, I think that primarily I care about domestic policy, and that's where I can't think of one way where Trump is better than Kamala in domestic policy. Yeah. I mean, also, there's the whole, like, we haven't even talked about this yet, but there's a whole, like, threat to democracy thing. I mean, like...
Yeah, there's the whole January 6th situation, which... I mean, we can dive into it, because, honestly, there's not a lot of coverage we can do at this point.
I mean, yeah, like, clearly he will never be held responsible for January 6th now that he's president. He'll fire Jack, whatever. But in terms of, like, it happening again, I mean, his second term will expire, but will he want to leave after that? I mean, he'll be the one good thing is he'll be really, really old. So, like, maybe he'll just be like, will be like, yeah.
He'll be the
oldest pass on the reins
when he leaves.
Well, JD Vance too.
I mean, listen, there's no replacement for Trump. I don't care what anybody says. There's no replacement for Trump for the next term. In 2028, it doesn't matter what happens in the next 4 years. It doesn't matter what Trump does. There's not.
I could see,
even if he goes full fascist, even if he goes full fucking retard.
I could see his kid being in office one day, though. Hunter, I think his name is, the tall one. I could see him being a president one day.
Barron?
Oh, you mean Barron? Probably.
Just because of his.
Yeah.
Listen.
Lineage.
Listen, Trump lineage, fucking named Barron taking over the presidency is just like it is like comical at this point.
Dude, we literally saw Dana White fucking shout out Aiden Ross during the presidential election, victory.
Aiden Ross 2028.
Name dropping kick streamers in speeches. That's wild.
Aiden Ross is like of like fucking single digits. Like, oh god, the fact that fucking that dipshit has like influences people's minds blows my mind. Yeah, it's fucking stupid. And,
I can't believe he shouted out Aiden Ross over like anybody else. Like,
yeah, he's gonna get even bigger now because he's got the Trump and now Trump's gonna be president. Maybe Aiden Ross can blow up even more now.
You mentioned Joe Rogan too.
Yeah,
and Theo Vaughn
too. Yeah,
dude, I was so disappointed in Joe Rogan. Like, I've always liked Joe Rogan.
I used to like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I used to like Joe Rogan, and he's been very clear in the past that, hey, I'm not gonna interview Trump. I've had opportunities because I just don't know enough politics to push back. So therefore, I'm not the right person for it. And then he just completely did 180 on it. Interviewed him.
He brings him on with no pushback at all.
No pushback because he doesn't even know anything about politics to push back on. Agrees with a bunch of stupid things, and then later on endorses him. Like, this is the guy that endorsed Bernie Sanders 4 years ago. Like, what the fuck? Like, Bernie Sanders and Trump are like polar opposites.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not really.
It feels like Joe Rogan is like one of those people that is, that phrase, be open-minded, but don't be so open-minded that your brain falls out. I feel like Joe Rogan has his like brain falling out. He's that open-minded, and it's just so unfortunate.
Is voting based on vibes. He liked the vibe of Bernie. He probably likes the vibe of Trump. So
I think he got a lot of backlash and decided to go towards the supporting him because he just didn't want to deal with it.
His audience does likely lean significantly towards Trump.
When he made the RFK statement, that's what kind of I think sealed the deal for him.
Yeah, but what a fucking coward then. Like, the vast majority of my audience is pro-Trump, and they fucking get triggered at me every day talking shit about Trump, but, like, who gives a shit? And, like, I don't have it made like Joe Rogan does. Yeah, also, one mistake, though, that I don't know if we're going to agree on, is that I think Kamala should have played ball more with RFK, because as far as I understand, he initially went to the Democrats to see if he could negotiate with them, and he got shut down.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would have been worth it, like, giving him a cabinet position to win the election.
I don't know. I have no idea what the timeline on this whole thing is, but I feel like at that point, Kamala probably wouldn't be the one in power on the left to be able to, like, work with RFK.
The thing is, you can put the...
No, this was for
if
this
RFK
election.
stayed in, like, just... You tell him to stay into the election all the way, but you guarantee him a cabinet spot after the election's done. We would have seen very different results today because he was polling like 10% which is astronomical for like someone who's just running as an independent.
Yeah, he could have swung the election, especially you get his endorsement. Yeah, I mean, I think it could have been huge.
I'm sorry, can we point out the fact that Flo State right now is just like chilling here and like eating ice cream? Living his best life as we're arguing about like shit. We're literally just talking about shit that actually doesn't matter. This man is like on this.
He's celebrating.
He is celebrating.
Entertainment, guys.
Fuck you.
It's the biggest made-for-TV drama on earth.
You should have a bowl of popcorn. That would have been perfect. Like a gift of that, Yeah, it's gonna be interesting next 4 years. I'm not completely upset because it's gonna be a lot of good content for the next 4 years. I imagine
there will be good content. I think the only other upside is it's gonna be fun to watch all the Trump fanboys try to rationalize like some of the fuck ups that Trump is gonna make. But other than that,
most his fuck ups. He honeypotted everybody to January 6th and then just kind of left him in jail.
Based? Oh my god, what? Yes. True.
Kind of bridge.
And so if they're still fans of him after that, then nothing he can do. Politics is a religion, right? Like this is the church of pro-Trump and this is the church of anti-Trump.
I mean, this is why we're like relegated to Trump deranged syndrome, and also fucking MAGA is a cult. It's like the opposites on both sides. It's the exact same shit.
But it's the same thing. It's still cults based around a cult of personality.
Yeah,
if you like it or not.
Yeah,
but Trumpism is a cult, and there is, I will acknowledge, like I always make fun of this, but there's like Trump derangement syndrome on some people on the left. But I think most people on the left are or like me, where they're looking at things like critically, and they're like, okay, like there's things that I will give Trump credit for. Like the First Step Act was good, renegotiating after was good. So there's like I think
if you want to chat with me live, sub here or go to Nonfon420 on Twitch or Kick via the links below. Once again, please like and sub to help with the algorithm, and consider sending a donation through YouTube Super Thanks to directly support me, and I'll make sure to reply to any question you ask. See you guys next time.